All right, so today we are diving deep into what it takes to land your dream job as a policy manager.
Sounds good to me.
So we're talking about like shaping decisions that have some serious impact,
Mm.
right? From environmental regulations to like how we develop ethical AI. It's all connected.
Huge, impactful stuff.
Exactly. And to make sense of it all, we've got RoleCatcher to thank. Their platform is like having a roadmap to this whole career path.
It really is. They break it down in a way that's easy to digest, like what it actually takes to not just get your foot in the door, but to really excel as a policy manager.
Totally. And one thing that really struck me when I was on RoleCatcher was how they bust that myth of the policy manager being chained to their desk, buried in paperwork.
It's funny you say that because I had the same thought.
Right.
It's so not that. It's about driving real change. Think about the things you see on the news, like climate change, data privacy, economic inequality. That's policy manager territory.
It's almost like detective work in a way, right? You're digging into these complex issues, figuring out what's really going on, and then using that knowledge to build a case for change.
100%. And it's not just about crunching numbers, it's about connecting the dots and seeing the bigger picture, which RoleCatcher emphasizes a lot, actually, like in their breakdown of the different career stages, which, by the way, is a gold mine if you're trying to map out your own career journey.
Yeah, I was super impressed with their career pathing tools. They don't just tell you what a policy manager does, they show you how the role evolves as you gain experience.
Exactly. And get this, when you look at their sample profiles, a lot of those senior policy managers, they didn't even start in policy.
Right.
We're talking lawyers, scientists, even journalists who transitioned into this field.
Wow.
So while subject matter expertise is definitely a plus, it's the ability to think critically, communicate clearly, and navigate like all those different personalities and stakeholders that really sets you apart.
Speaking of stakeholders, RoleCatcher seems to put a lot of emphasis on stakeholder engagement. It's like you can have the most brilliant policy idea in the world, but if you can't get everyone on board.
It's dead in the water.
Exactly.
It's crucial. Imagine trying to implement, say, a new environmental policy without getting buy-in from industry leaders or addressing concerns from people in the community.
Good luck with that, right?
It's not happening. That's why RoleCatcher really hammers home the importance of stakeholder engagement.
So you're not just a policy wonk, you're a diplomat, a negotiator,
Yeah.
almost like a master of persuasion, because you need to be able to navigate all these different perspectives, build consensus, and get your ideas across in a way that resonates.
You've got to be able to speak everyone's language.
Totally.
That's where that influencer part really comes into play. You're not just advising, you're shaping decisions at the highest level.
No pressure.
None at all.
But seriously, we've established this is a high-stakes, high-impact field, but it's also incredibly competitive. Good thing RoleCatcher doesn't just leave us hanging.
They wouldn't do that to us. They have a whole section dedicated to beating the automated recruiter.
It sounds kind of intense when you say it like that.
I know, right? But it's actually super helpful.
Okay, so I have to ask, when I saw 120,000 interview questions, I'll be honest, I panicked a little.
I don't blame you.
But then, and this is where RoleCatcher gets really cool, they break it all down by career path, by skill set. So you're not overwhelmed.
Exactly. Instead of getting lost in this massive sea of random questions, you can focus on what you actually need to know to ace that policy manager interview. And speaking of interview prep, they're AI-powered practice sessions. Game changer.
It's like having a personal mock interview with an expert who knows exactly what the hiring manager is looking for.
It really is like having a secret weapon. You can practice your answers, get feedback on how you're doing, even fine-tune your body language.
All through AI.
Crazy, right?
It's amazing how much technology is changing how we search for jobs.
For sure.
But let's step back for a second and talk about the bigger picture.
Sounds good.
One of the things that really jumped out at me from RoleCatcher's analysis was this focus on continuous learning.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes sense, right? The world of policy is constantly changing.
Especially with tech moving so fast.
Exactly. What worked yesterday might not cut it tomorrow, so you've got to be able to adapt and stay ahead of the curve.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change.
Right.
And in a field like policy, where you're dealing with these super complex issues, being able to learn, unlearn, and relearn is essential.
Totally. RoleCatcher actually gives some examples of how policy is being shaped by all these different things, from AI to biotech to renewable energy.
It's a lot to keep up with.
Tell me about it. Like, imagine being a policy manager focused on data privacy. They've got to be on top of every new AI development to create regulations that actually work.
It's like you're always a student.
In a way,
But that's a good thing. You're constantly learning new things, exploring different subjects. It keeps things interesting.
definitely. That's what makes this career path so exciting. It's not for everyone,
Right.
but if you're intellectually curious and you really want to make a difference, it can be incredibly rewarding.
Speaking of making a difference, let's talk about the impact policy has on the real world.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about writing rules, right?
Exactly. It's about making things better.
Yes. And RoleCatcher actually highlights some really powerful examples of how policy managers have done just that.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, policies that have led to cleaner air and water, increased access to health care, even policies that help protect endangered species.
Wow. That's amazing to think about.
Right. It's easy to forget that this work has a ripple effect. You might be working behind the scenes, but the policies you help create can change people's lives.
That must be an incredible feeling.
It really is.
Maybe
That sense of purpose is a big part of why people are drawn to this career path.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because, yeah, there are challenges. Long hours, tough conversations.
For sure.
But knowing that you're making a real difference, that's powerful.
It makes all the struggle worth it.
Exactly.
And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with stakeholder engagement.
Mm-hmm.
To make a real difference, you need to be able to bring people together, to find common ground.
100%. And that takes a special kind of skill set.
Like what?
Empathy, diplomacy, understanding how people think. It's not just about being right.
There's more to it than that.
It's about finding solutions that work for everyone, that everyone can get behind.
So it's this combination of head and heart.
Perfectly said.
You need the brain power to understand these complex issues and come up with solutions, but you also need the emotional intelligence.
To navigate all the different personalities and perspectives.
Yes, and to build those bridges between people.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And the good news is RoleCatcher has a ton of resources on how to develop these skills. Workshops, online courses, you name it.
They really do set you up for success. And it's awesome how RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat things.
Yeah, for real.
They're upfront about the fact that this line of work is demanding.
It definitely can be.
Long hours, tackling tough issues.
Oh.
It's not always easy.
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
But for the right person, someone who's passionate about these issues that really wants to make a difference.
It's the dream, right?
Totally. It's that fire in your belly that keeps you going.
100%.
And that brings us to another important point, knowing where to start.
Because even if you're like, this is it, this is my path,
Yeah.
actually breaking into the policy world can be a little intimidating.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Luckily, RoleCatcher has some great tips.
Like what?
Well, they're big on networking.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense.
And-
Building relationships is key in any field, but especially in policy, where so much depends on collaboration.
Right, bringing people together.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing RoleCatcher suggests, starting small.
Okay, I like that.
Like volunteering for an organization you believe in,
Good idea.
attending local government meetings,
Mhm.
even connecting with people on LinkedIn.
Just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly. Show that you're genuinely interested and
You
passionate.
get foot in the door.
And you never know, right? That internship you land at a think tank could turn into your dream job.
That's how it happens for a lot of people.
Right. Speaking of dream jobs, RoleCatcher has this really cool feature where you can see all the different types of organizations that hire policy managers.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's great. You can search by sector like government, nonprofits, think tanks, even private companies.
So you can see where you might fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's not always obvious, right? Like, do you want to work on international climate agreements, advocate for education reform, shape tech policy?
So many options.
Endless possibilities. And that's what makes this career path so exciting. It's not one size fits all. There's room for all kinds of passions.
I love that. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling that spark, that pull towards making a real difference,
That calling.
check out RoleCatcher. It's an amazing resource.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It really is. It's never too early or too late to explore this kind of impactful and rewarding work.
Well said. And there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the world of the policy manager.
Big thanks to RoleCatcher for all the insights.
They were awesome.
We hope this episode has given you a better sense of what this role is all about, the skills you need, and the incredible impact you can have.
Go out there and change the world.
Yes. The world needs passionate, dedicated people like you. So go make it happen.